If this wasn't already your least favorite word, thank you for allowing me to be the person that gets you there. Salutations, friends. My name is Brianna Tsukiyama Bond, otherwise known as No Ordinary Scholar. Parasocial relationships. Let's get into it. In the digital age, it is easier than ever for celebrities to share bits and pieces and details about their lives with the many of people who are dying to hear about it. From Instagram posts to Snapchat stories to TikToks and everything in between, people now have so much more access to seeing every single step that the celebrities that they love and adore make. However, this whole thing does tend to bring us closer to what is called a parasocial relationship. Parasocial relationships often tend to be limited in scope and the amount of information you have about someone, as well as often being very one-sided because of the distance between said celebrity and their fan. There are so many videos currently out there about the concept of parasocial relationships. Let's have a chat about it. Parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships are typically one-sided relationships that can happen between fans and celebrities, television stars and characters, and other people that view these big names. And although the relationship is one-sided, meaning that a fan has a large appreciation for the individual that is the celebrity honestly probably does not know at all, if much, about that individual. Those relationships are very one-sided, but still, even though that celebrity does not have as intimate a knowledge of the people that follow them, they have a very large influence over those people and can often change their lives. I'm sure a lot of you have heard, due to recent news that I absolutely am using as SEO tags for this video, you've heard a lot of people talking about parasocial relationships, and oftentimes they are discussed as being something very harmful. And I think a major reason for that is these conversations tend to be focused around parasocial relationships between people with celebrities, with influencers, with real human beings. Even when I was going to originally plan on doing this video, I was going to talk about how and why I personally don't tend to have a lot of parasocial relationships with human beings. It wasn't going to be like, oh my god, I'm so special, I'm so cool, I don't have any parasocial relationships with, because I'm so awesome or whatever. It wasn't supposed to be anything like that. It's truly a trauma response, so it's not something anyone should want for themselves. But it was just going to be me talking about kind of why I tend to try and keep that mental distance between myself and any personalities I follow. But here's the thing, here's the plot twist. And I'm not sure, maybe you caught it earlier when I was talking. Parasocial relationships are not just between human beings, they're also for fictional characters too. Now, understanding that, I do think we are in a place to have a much more useful conversation about this topic. There is no denying that people greatly benefit from being able to see a representation or depiction of themselves and their experiences in media and in a medium outside of themselves. There's no denying that. And for a lot of people, there's just not a more intimate way of being able to get this representation. It can also, for a lot of people, be very hard to find a community around those aspects of themselves in a physically closer space. It can also act as inspiration. It can teach and help with social skills and interpersonal skills by watching and relating to characters through media, as well as, and this is the reason why I tend to lean on parasocial relationships with fictional characters. I have a very long history of abuse and being abused, and that has created a lot of physical and mental barriers for me when it comes to interpersonal relationships. So being able to really dive into fictional characters the way that I do allows me to experience and enjoy human beings with a lot less fear of the real dangers that reality often forces me to experience with people. Not to mention, and this one is the reason why I share my own writing, which, Queen of Thieves series, books, book 4, currently available for pre-order. Sorry, that was just something in my throat there. The reason why I share my own writing is it can help you cope with situations you're going through and process them, to have someone else put into the words that you need, to have someone be able to express it in a way that you may not be able to verbalize, or even just to know that it's not just you. It also helps to know that it's not just you that is going through these problems. But of course, like anything in this world, there is absolutely a point where it crosses over into being quite unhealthy, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a fictional bitch. But I do tend to think that that line gets crossed when we are talking about real human beings. My reasoning for this is because when it comes to books, you have all of the existing information about that being. When you read whatever, all of the books that they are in, you have all of the information that exists about them. But with real people, you can listen to all of their albums, you can read all their memoirs, you can watch all their interviews, and even if they are actually being 100% earnest in all of those contexts, those are still just moments, just pieces, just snapshots of much bigger, more vibrant lives. And honestly, you can go to YouTube or TikTok or anywhere else to find hundreds of different videos talking about the negatives of parasocial relationships, unhealthy comparisons, or like, I don't know, does anyone else remember back when people were posting IG videos of themselves self-harming because One Direction broke up? Like, those videos talking about those types of harmful responses, those exist. I want to chat with y'all about something a little different. Clocking celebrities. This, I'll say, is one example of trying to be so progressive that you actually just circle right around back to bigotry. Have y'all noticed that trend of people trying to clock or guess or predict a celebrity or influencer's sexuality or gender? And by clock, predict, all those things, by that, I mean that they look at a celebrity and tell them they like dress or act gay. Do you see where I'm gonna be going with this? A big example of this is Shawn Mendes. There are a lot of people saying that Shawn Mendes' clothes and voice make him gay. And I would be willing to bet quite a lot that if you went down all of these people's TikToks and shit, you're also going to find videos of them complaining that cishet men only wear suits to award shows and stuff. Well, what do you expect if you're going to be attacking them every time they try and wear something different? And no, I'm not talking about an attack in the way that a lot of people's minds jump to. No, nobody here is saying there is anything wrong with being gay or trans. They're saying there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the way you act, the way you behave, the way you present yourself. You do not fit into my quite narrow view of sexuality, gender, and identity. There is a problem here. I'm going to fix it by making my own conclusions about your identity. Is there a healthy way to approach something like this? Because sometimes maybe you have, like, there's a comment you want to say, are we just not approaching making that comment the right way? You know, obviously I'm not given like the end all be all calls here. I'm not the one saying this is the only answer, this is how you do it right. I'm just throwing shit out here. The goal is to not try and bring this person into it at all, because we don't know this person. We don't know anything about them. We need to just take them at their word, because how else are you going to allow a world in which we are not fit into those patriarchal boxes if you're going to continue to shove someone into just new patriarchal boxes, you know? You know what I mean? Examples of how I would think a better way of going about trying to say something here without, again, like, harassing Shawn Mendes is like, hey, that vest. I want a gay rom-com starring that vest and that vest alone. That, I feel like that gets across a point without explicitly trying to make assumptions and judgments about his identity. You know what I mean? Another example is, I personally know nothing about Selena Gomez's sexuality. As far as I know, I think she's straight, like, if for no other reason than the song Boyfriend specifically. But that was like years ago, so who knows what it could be now. I honestly kind of don't care. Her song Perfect, though, in my head is a gay song. Like, in my head, I'm just imagining a nice little intro to a throuple. And that is what that song sounds like to me. Or, as another option is a thing I like to do when I do music breakdowns and song breakdowns and stuff like that, I tend to refer to the narrator of the song as Amy. I do that because that allows me to keep a nice buffer separation between the character that is created by the song and the interpretation I'm having of that character and the real human being that I just don't know enough about to be making any form of interpretation of. Moving on to the second instance of issues with parasocial relationships that I want to discuss is biopics. While biopics are nothing new, they have become more and more and more popular in recent years. Biopics can be a very difficult medium for filmmakers to make because of what should be a decently high burden of accuracy required in order to reflect a person's life in only a few hours. And again, that burden of accuracy really should make biopics super difficult to make, right? But you'd think that, but you would be wrong. You would be wrong. The existence of the movie Blonde tells us that you can literally take a fictional piece of work about the character the media created of a person, still call it biographical, even though it's based on a work of fiction that actively made shit up about her. Like, it's so bizarre that the tagline of the movie is watched by all, seen by none, but it's so clear that none of these motherfuckers saw her because Marilyn Monroe is on record saying she hopes no one ever makes a biopic about her. But the thing is, this truly has nothing to do with her. The studio is trying to sell people what they already associate with Marilyn Monroe. And frankly, most people aren't able to pick up on the biases in a real research document or documentary, so I'm not surprised that there is a marketable amount of people that aren't able to pick up or recognize or care that they are being sold something very specific with something like this. Another example, there are people all over all of these apps talking about how they feel bad for Jeffrey Dahmer. They wish they could write him letters. And actually, his victims, they were lucky. Don't get me wrong, I don't believe in white innocence. These people know exactly what they're saying because they're quite literally verbalizing a pillar of white supremacy. I don't care about the brutalization of black and brown bodies. And then they'll throw a fit about black folk calling them out on it and probably end up using that as their excuse to vote fascist on some, I guess they don't want allies bullshit. Those people are absolutely responsible for themselves. But not every case is that extreme. I absolutely think this is going to lead to a lot more white people who will see a white man shoot up a marginalized community and they will stop and they will think, well, what if he had a bad childhood? What if it's a mental health issue? They will see a cop shoot a black man 12 times in the back and say, but the cop's genuinely scared of black men. What else was he supposed to do? But don't worry, Netflix isn't the only studio at this bullshit, and I also think that lies of omission are an extremely dangerous thing. I am so deeply uncomfortable with the fact that Pam and Tommy took a documented abuser and portrayed him as an equal part protagonist in that show. Like, what good does it do to erase his behavior in that relationship and prioritize getting the audience to sympathize with him? I mean, it's not like the public historically demonizes women and victims of abuse, and portraying that relationship even as just healthy would cast doubt on her. But that would only make sense then if power structures and the resources abusers are protected by are systemic or something, and not solely based on the actions of individuals. I don't know if that doesn't sound right, does it? I think it's always an easy shot to take at youngsters and their newfangled social medias, but these negative interactions through parasocial relationships that I talked about, these two, those extend far beyond social media, and they are rooted in things far more insidious than just scrolling addictions. But that doesn't mean that we should forget the good things we talked about in the beginning as well. There are a lot of good things that can come and develop out of parasocial relationships. Like anything, though, we just have to set boundaries. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this, please check out some of my other videos on this channel. If you want to see me acting goofy, check out my vlog channel, No Ordinary Vlogs. If you like to read, I write books. Currently got the Queen of Thieves series available on Amazon.com. Don't forget to check these out. I worked really hard on them, and I think they're pretty darn good. And if you've got like $5 weighing you down, I feel you. I can help. I do have a Patreon over there. You can subscribe for as little as $2 a month, but when you start hitting the $5 a month, you get some pretty cool things, including pre-release premieres of all of my books. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links down below. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Valedictions, friends.